Good morning, students. Good morning to all. And last day we have studied about the land pollutions. And in that concept, we have studied the causes for land pollutions and the effects of land pollutions. And after that, also we have studied about the climate change, acid rain, and the e-waste also. So today, just we will go to the next concept. So today, just we will study about the sustainable development. The sustainable development is concerned with the welfare of not only present generations but also future generations. So now, if you have some of the growth and development by the way of increasing the gross domestic product and the national income, and by the way of increasing the industrializations. So by this ways, if you are easily increasing our growth and development, but the development always being as a sustainable one, then only this development is will be useful to our future generations also. So the sustainable development aims at not only satisfying the luxury wants of the upper class, but also the basic necessity of the poor like food, sanitation, healthcare, education, etc. Because our nations also consist of both rich and poor. So when we are comparing to the rich peoples, the 75% of the poor people and the middle class peoples only are living throughout the world. So the nations must be taking the full responsibilities to maintaining the sustainable development, because the government have to take the responsibilities. The government has some of the responsibility to providing all the social welfare facilities to both the rich and poor peoples. Even if there is no possibilities to providing the social welfare to the rich people, they must given to the poor peoples. So the present generations should not exhaust the resources left by the past generations, but it should leave the same for the sake of future generations. This is called intergenerations equality. So now what are the resources are we are using, that same resources we have to left to the future generations. Otherwise the future generations will affect in many things in many ways. So the government have to arrange to maintaining the sustainable development for all these things. So the goals of sustainable development. The goals of sustainable development is crucial to harmonize the three core elements such as economic growth, social inclusions and environmental protections. The economic growth is already we have studied. So every year if you are increasing our income as living standard of living, educations, infrastructure facilities, sanitations, in these all cases if you are improved, that is called the growth. Next the social inclusions means, so what type of the welfare is received by the individual people of any societies, that same welfare have to be used by all the people since all the societies. Next environmental protections. So when we are increasing our industrializations and the development progress, the economic development progress, in the same time we have to take the responsibilities and we have to accept the responsibility of protecting our environment, because without environment we can't live without the environment. So in the same time we have to take the full responsibility to the protection of environment. A set of 17 goals for the world's futures can be achieved before 2030 with the three unanimous principles fixed by United Nations such as universality, integrations and transformations. And some of the features are the some of the principles are contained with the sustainable development. What are the principles of the sustainable development mean? First one is, so bringing the poverty to end. So end poverty in all its forms of everywhere. So in whichever forms the poverty is occurs in wherever or in wherever the place, so everywhere the poverty must be bringing to an end. Next, end the hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. So the sustainable development must be taking, the government have to take the responsibility to and the bring the hunger to the end, and they have to take the full responsibility and they have to take the effort to achieve the food security and improve nutrition and promote the sustainable agricultural. So when we are making the sustainable agricultural only is enough, we can easily make the achieve to the food security. Food security means even if the farmers are producing many type of the crops or many type of the food grains as abundantly, so it will be going to spoiled or wastage on every days or every years. So if you are if you have some of the achievement for the food securities, it will be also able to make the food nutrition. Next, ensure healthy lives. So they ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at ages. So what we have to do, or what are the policies we have to bring to make the healthy lives and to promote the well-being for all at all ages. So from the childhood to from the old age till the old age, all the persons have to get the well-being promotions and they have to live with prosperity and health also. Next, to ensure the quality educations as per the sustainable development. So the government have to make the ensure inclusive and quality educations for all and promote lifelong learning. So now if the governments are providing the free educationals and the free quality educations, so the promote lifelong learning they will learn. Next, achieve gender quality. So achieve gender equality and empower women and girls. So what are the arrangements have to taken by the government? They have to take because of that they can make the gender equality and empower women. Next, ensure access to water and sanitation for all. The good water and the good sanitation facilities have to provided for all the peoples in all the societies. Next, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy for all. If they are making the affordable energy and the reliable or the modern energy for all, it will be able to make them. Next, promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth, employment and decent work for all. If you are making the employment opportunity for all the peoples, the sustainable economic growth also will be come as automatically. Next, build the resilient infrastructure, promote sustainable industrializations and foster innovations. So instead of producing the same type of commodities, the government have to encourage the entrepreneurs to bring the innovations on any of the technological and the productions. And not only that, so we have to promote the sustainable industrializations, because nowadays the industrializations are always under the changing. It will always be being the increase or sometimes it will be decrease. But if the industrializations are growing as sustainable, it will be helpful to our nations. Next, reduce inequality within and among the countries. So throughout the world, if you are bringing the equality in all the countries, so all the peoples also have the purchasing power. The parity of purchasing power also will be increased. Next, make cities inclusive, safe, or resilient and sustainable. Next, take urgent action to combat climate changes and its impact. So whenever the climate is going to change to affect the infrastructure facilities. So with the government, all the nations also have to possibilities or have to take the urgent actions. Next, conserve and sustainable use the oceans, seas and marine resources. So what are the resources are there throughout the oceans or the marine resources they have to conserve. Next, sustainable manage forest and combat desertifications, halt on the reverse land degradations, halt biodiversity loss. Next, the promote just peaceful and inclusive societies. So the sustainable development also has to take the action to make the peaceful and inclusive societies. So this type of the principles also had by the sustainable economic development. Okay student, next concept is organic farming. So the organic farming is also nowadays is publicity or it will be increasing throughout the peoples. So organic farming is a system of agricultural productions which relies on animal manure, organic waste, crop rotations. So and what are the organic methods are there to make your farming? This is called as organic farming. So it avoids use of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides and livestock additives. So the organic inputs have certain benefits such as enriching soil for microbes. So when we are using the organic fertilizers, the prosperity of land also will be increased and it will be always helpful to improve or protecting the human health. The organic production is a holistic system designed to optimize the productive and fitness of diverse communities with the agro system. So including soil organisms, plants, livestock and peoples. The principal goal of organic production is to develop enterprises that are sustainable and harmonious with environment. So the general principle of organic farmings are protect the environment. So protect the environment because already we have studied in this land pollutions. So when we are using the many solid waste, the prosperity also will be affected. The prosperity of land also will be affected. So the environment also because of that will be going to affect. So protect the environment, minimize soil degradations and erosions, decrease the pollutions, optimize biological productivity and promote a sound state of health. So when we are minimizing the soil degradations and erosions and decrease the pollutions, we can improve the sound of state of health. Next, maintaining the long-term soil fertility by optimizing conditions for biological activity within the soil. So if you are doing the biological activity within the soil, we can maintain the long-term soil fertility. So because of the soil fertilities, so organic seeds and organic crops also we can easily cultivate. Next, maintaining the biological diversity within the system. So the biological diversity is also one of the principles. Next, recycle materials and resources to the greatest extent possible within the enterprises. So we have to arrange the method of recycle materials. So what are the materials or what are the things are going to used by the human activities for their day by day activities? Only they have to preferring the recycle items. When we are using the recycle items, so it will not be affect mostly on the environment. Next, provide the attentive care that promotes the health and meets the behavioral needs of livestock. So, the government or the people themselves, they have to take their own responsibility to promote the health and meets the behavioral needs of the livestock. Next, prepare organic products, emphasizing careful processing and handling the method of in order to maintain the organic integrity. Next, rely on renewable resources in locally organized agricultural system. So because of that, we can bring the organic farming. Next, seed ball. Recent years, recent years, the most of the peoples and particularly the youngsters also focusing their attentive in the agricultural, and in the same time they are extensive, they are making the boost to the farmers to arranging the organic agriculturals. So in this organic agriculturals, if you want to improve and if you want to protect your environment, then many of the trees are needed. But nowadays most of the peoples are not giving the attentive presence attentive to plantations of trees. And even if you are planting some of the trees, you have never time to protect that trees. So in this easy method, how can we increasing or how can we make the forest because of or due to the seed ball? A seed ball is a seed that has been wrapped in soil materials, usually the mixture of clay and compost, and then dried. So if you are taking some of the soil with the organic fertilizers, and among these clay, if you are put any of the seeds and wrapped, and if they are dried, and after arranging, after making many of the seeds balls, if you are throughout the places in the rainy time, it will be grown automatically. So essentially the seed is planted and can be zoned by depositing the seed ball anywhere suitable for the species, keeping the seeds safely until the proper germination window arises. So seed balls are an easy and sustainable way to cultivate plants that provide a larger window of time when the sowing can occur. Okay students, so end of the seed ball, our 10th lessons is completed. So but even though we have some of the time, and so we can go to the next chapter, and in this chapter if you have any doubt, please ask me. Okay students, then next chapter, chapter 11, economics of development and planning. So first we have to know about the meaning of development. The concept, the development refers to the structural changes towards the betterment. If our economy is moving towards any of the betterment changes, it is called development. So all the nations want to make changes in their living method and the economic systems. So in any way, if you are taking any of the effort to improving our economy, that all these efforts are considered as a development efforts. So until the World War II, interest was rarely shown on the problems of the present day third world countries. So after the Second World War, economists started devoting their attention towards analyzing the problems of underdeveloped countries and formulating the theories and models of development and growth. So the underdeveloped countries were once the colonies of England and other European countries. So after becoming free and independent, there was an awakening to march towards the economic development. So when they are in the colonial dominations, they couldn't take any of the plan for the development and growth. But after independent, so all the nations are taking towards the growth and economic development. And in this economic development, the two type of the approaches are there. One is the traditional approach and the new welfare oriented approach. The traditional approaches defines the development strictly in economic terms. The increase in gross national product is accompanied by a decline in the share of agricultural in output and employment, while those of manufacturing and service sector increases. As per the traditional approaches, the economic have to be developed without deny of agricultural sector. It emphasizes the importance of industrializations. It was assumed that growth in gross national product per capita would trickle down to the people at the bottom. Next, new welfare oriented approaches. As per the new welfare oriented approaches, the economic development was redefined in terms of reduction of poverty, inequality, and unemployment within the context of growing economy. In this way, redistributions with the growth became the popular slogan. So the redistributions with the growth is very much important in the sense of development. Next, we have to know about the underdevelopment. The underdevelopment refers to that states of an economy where levels of living of masses are extremely low due to very low levels of per capita income resulting from the low levels of productions and high rate of population. If any of the nations has the high rate of populations, so automatically these nations will fall down in the poverty because there was no employment opportunities or the government cannot able to make the employment opportunities for all the increased populations. So because of that the productivity also will be going to low. So because of the low level of productivity and the high growth rate of populations, the per capita income and the levels of living on masses also will be extremely low. So what are the nations are being these all these characteristics, this type of the nations are considered as a underdevelopment nations. Next, just some of the comparisons between the economic growth and the economic development. So already we have studied in many areas the difference between the growth and development. So even though under the particular headings we can easily understanding the difference between the growth and economic development. First, the state of development. So generally speaking, the economic development refers to the problems of underdeveloped countries and economic growth to those of developed countries. So if the economic development is also considered the problems of underdeveloped countries and economic growth to those of developed countries. Next, the nature and level of change. The development is a discontinuous and the spontaneous change, while growth is a gradual and steady change in the long run. So growth always occurs as a gradual, and if it is growing once, the steady change will be there in the long run. But the development is not like that. The development is a discontinuous and spontaneous changes. Next is the scope of change. The growth simply means more output. Growth simply means more output means if you have more marks, if you have more income, so you are considered as growth. So, but the development refers to efficiency in productions, that is the output per unit of inputs, and it also implies the changes in composition of output and in allocation of resources. So, if the productivity or if the efficient or the talent or the skillful is increased only, so we can consider that is the development. Next, the extent of change. The economic development as the wider concept than economic growth. It is taken to mean growth plus structural change. So the economic development also has the wider concept than the wider economic growth. Okay students, I think it's enough. So if you have any doubt, please ask me.